Hello, boils and ghouls. Welcome to episode 210 of Dads from the Crypt. My name is Jason. Today, I'm joined by Mondo.
Hello.
Hello. I like the green hue, the green haze to match the Toxic Avenger theme tonight.
Oh, damn, I messed up. Yeah, I got these new Govee lights, and they have these weird settings, but like I don't know, they don't match to me. Like this is, yeah, I can't quite figure this thing out. I'm just technology. I work in technology for a living, and I'm just dumb when it comes to technology.
For anyone watching on YouTube, we apologize for the who has epilepsy. We're sorry for triggering your symptoms with all those lights the Mondo just went through.
You have also strobe light. Jesus Christ, it's fine.
Also joining us is Derick from the Underrated podcast.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We're doing a little guest exchange from Reddit, from the Reddit subgroup. What's it called again? Guest swap or something like that?
r/guest exchange, or r/podcast guest, I think is what it is.
Something like that. Yeah. Fun little place. You know, yeah. I have been doing a lot of guest spots lately on other podcasts just because people are always looking for a horror nerd around the Halloween time. So I figured it's a good time to get out there. I was just on Derick's podcast, and we talked about the Fright Nights. We're going to talk about Fright Rags in a minute. That's why it's on my mind. We're going to talk about the Fright Night remake, which I rather enjoyed, surprisingly. I thought it was very underrated.
Yeah. As the name of the podcast would suggest, that's what I specialize in over there is underrated movies, and I had been wanting to talk about that one for a while for a Halloween special, and I figured I'd come to a horror expert to talk about it with.
Nice.
I like that movie too. That's a good one. I like how they used the backdrop of like the Las Vegas housing crisis at the time.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah, definitely one of the better remakes, especially for like a post Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the last of those of that generation that was actually good.
Wait, are you saying the Nightmare on Elm Street remake was good?
No, I'm saying after that kind of killed the trend, but I think this one was already in production at the time.
I was about to sign off and just go do something else.
No. That's how you know I'm like an imposter, Jason. If I start talking about great the Nightmare on Elm Street remake is. I saw a Bloody Disgusting article the other day about like 5 good things about the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. And none of them were actually that valid. So
J.K. Haley's okay. I guess he's pretty good. I guess you could say that. That's a good thing about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Even the kid actor, they did their best.
Yeah.
Rooney Mara was so sleepy throughout the whole movie.
And what's his name? I forgot the kid's name. He's Thomas
Galler.
But he's but anyhow, like the micro nap thing, I thought was kind of brilliant. They just didn't do a good job in execution.
The one thing I can agree with, but yeah. Anyways, we'll talk more about overrated, underrated movies in a little bit. But Derick, you had a couple. I think you said you had a couple other podcasts. Why don't you just promote those real quick?
Yeah. So like I said, Underrated Movie Podcast is the main one, but I also do one called the Midnight Film Society, which comes out every other Friday, where I talk about kind of recently released stuff. And then I do one that is released sporadically called Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones, where it's whenever there's a new Marvel movie that comes out, I do a episode covering the newest Marvel thing. I'm also doing some bonus episodes for the end of the year over on my Patreon for that, and then I do a whole thing on my Patreon, Underrated Movie Podcast, over on Patreon, where I'm going to be covering Amadeus 15 minutes at a time. So doing a lot of stuff.
That's cool. So do you read the Marvel comics too, or just the movies?
As a teenager, I got really into the Ultimate comics. Like that was my thing. So and so much of the MCU is taken from that Ultimate stuff. Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, the Ultimates. That it really obviously Nick Fury. They drew him as Sam Jackson. Sam Jackson's like, should I sue you guys? And I'm like, well, if we make a Nick Fury in a movie, we'll put you in the movie. So, like, that's right in my wheelhouse.
That's awesome.
It worked out pretty well for him in the end.
Yeah,
I'd say so.
Speaking of Patreon, we have a very hopping Patreon lately. We have reviews for Weapons and Companion and Strange Darling. we put out a review of the first Treehouse of Horror Simpsons episode, which of course was called like the Simpsons Halloween special. Back the first one was. And we also put out a new review on the Japanese film Ichi the Killer, which is a hell of a movie. I hadn't seen it in a long time, and man, it's a ride. But I had a lot of fun with that one.
Nice.
And also, this episode is sponsored by Fright Rags. If you're like me, you're getting hyped by Guillermo del Toro's upcoming Frankenstein movie. And I have been revisiting all the original Frankenstein Universal monsters, and my favorite is the Bride of Frankenstein. It just blows my mind how iconic the Bride is, with only 3.5 minutes of screen time. And now you can show your love for this legendary monster by grabbing one of Fright Rags' new Killer Bride of Frankenstein t-shirts. The perfect way to celebrate horror history in style. They have a new line just came out. In fact, I actually got my wife one because she's a big fan of the Bride as well. So you get one for yourself, get one for your loved one, get one for a friend. Check out Fright Rags.
You use your customer service voice there. I've never heard that.
I know. I went to another registry.
And for the record, too, I always have to state this. We're all big fans of Fright Rags before they ever decided to help us out in the show. And like, I have a closet full of Fright Rags stuff, but that's a genuine that's a Ron Swanson like endorsement. I would not endorse a company that I do not believe in.
No,
and they have soft shirts. They have fucking soft shirts.
Soft shirts.
More companies need to embrace the soft shirts.
I love a soft shirt. You know, I want to be comfortable and look good. You know,
as a metalhead, every fucking band, every show is like, let's get Gildan heavy cotton. I've ranted about this before, and it's like wearing sandpaper at this point in my life. And I saw the Cavalera Brothers this past weekend, and they're an older band now. They brought the soft shirts. And nice. I'm very thank you, Cavalera Brothers, for letting me buy a shirt that was soft at a metal show. I appreciate it.
Also, the shirts on Fright Rag, they have many sizes, which I really appreciate for us big and tall boys.
Great socks too.
Great. I haven't done the socks. I only have like 2 kinds of socks I wear.
Okay, good. I thought you were gonna say you had 2 pairs of socks. And I was gonna have.
I mean, to be honest, I don't wear socks very often because I'm always just in my Keens or my flip flops. It's the Southern California living.
Yeah.
I mean, I only wear socks to work. To be fair, like I don't wear flip flops either. When it's not cold in Las Vegas, I wear flip flops. Period. So I get it.
And I work from home, so I just wear flip flops. No, I work all the time.
Rub it in.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of workplace dramas, let's talk about Toxic Avenger.
All right. So since Jody's out and I got this thrust upon me right before the show started, I'm going to do my best with the synopsis. First off, I like to say this movie is Troma through and through. And they kind of keep the original thread of I don't know if eco-terrorism is the right word, but basically corporations bad, healthcare companies bad is a running theme for this. You have Peter Dinklage plays Winston, a janitor at the company BVH, or is it BTH?
I think BTH.
I'm very prepared, as you can see, to do the synopsis last second at BTH, which is a all kind of catch-all pharmaceutical company. And he goes to work as a janitor pretty much every day. And his wife passed away. Not his wife, but his they were never married, but his longtime live-in girlfriend,
life
and
partner.
she had life partner. She had a son, so he is playing single stepdad at the moment with his son, who obviously definitely has some issues going on of his own. He's doing the best he can, and for the record, the son is also doing the best he can, just dealing with general teen angsty stuff that we all dealt with growing up. We all dealt with or I dealt with my child. I don't know if Jason has yet. But that's right. I forgot your son's your son's a graduate. You're good.
I've got the 11+-year-old.
Oh, that one. Okay, that's going down now. Okay,
yeah, it's popping.
But anyhow, he is eventually diagnosed with a disease, which we don't know what it is, because whenever they talk about the disease, they just have loud machinery noises in the background, which I find brilliant. to be honest with you. So he basically confronts his boss, played by one Kevin Bacon, at a gala and says, "You have to help me. I need help. Our insurance doesn't. I have the platinum insurance. Only the gold insurance covers the medicine I need," which is an indictment of our great American healthcare system. And he is basically the CEO says, Kevin Bacon says, "Yeah, I'll help you," and instead shows him the door. Also, I'm remiss to say there's also at the beginning an investigative reporter who's trying to expose all this corruption, and he is working with basically a young lady who is kind of his, I'd say his, she's collecting evidence for him. He's like on the ground reporter, I guess, on the ground, almost like a PI, I guess you could say. And he gets killed at the beginning by a rock group or like a Slipknot
Send
style
in the
group.
nuts.
Yeah,
I thought it was like an insane clown posse.
Yeah, that's what the vibes I got. Yeah.
But I've met some juggalos and they're chill as shit. So I don't
I
know.
know that's my one beef with this.
Yeah. So I'd say they're more like Mudvayne fans or some shit like that.
But
I
they-
don't know enough about Mudvayne fans. So
They kill him with a harpoon. Just kind of funny.
well, first of all, they shoot him 3 times. Then they hit him with a shotgun, and then when he still stands back up, they get him with the harpoon, and he still gets the last word in as he lays on the street below. But fast forward, and then Peter Dinklage, Winston being very upset, goes to rob his business. So he goes there and covers a mop with toxic waste and attempts to rob all the money from this business. The flaming nuts who are looking for the other reporter end up finding him. They shoot him, kill him, and then dump him into a river of toxic waste in which he emerges as the Toxic Avenger. And he ends up saving some people at a diner. He ends up battling these fucking nuts and battling the corporation. And at the end of the day, gets the upper hand and gets reunited with his son to make this a very, very fast and dirty synopsis. A lot of craziness and fuckery happens between point A and point B, with a lot of fun too. And we see Troma at its this is as Lloyd Kaufman. This movie is if Lloyd Kaufman had a budget, and I absolutely love that about it. But yeah. So kind of a little bit spoilery there, but not too much. And I'll let you guys chat about it, and then I'll jump in later.
All right, Derick, what do you think of this movie?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest Troma guy. I didn't see the original Toxic Avenger until I actually had a guest on Underrated recommend it to me a couple years back, and I covered it for that because it's like got more of a cult thing. And yeah, I do have an appreciation for this kind of over the top, ridiculous violence, and it's one of those things where sometimes your mileage may vary. So I guess kind of the least interesting response to this movie, which is like, yeah, I kind of liked it. It didn't
valid.
There, it's nothing like I wasn't like raving about this, but I also didn't hate it. There's some really good stuff in it. I think there's some great performances. I think especially Kevin Bacon, he's always great as just like a bad guy.
Right.
I love seeing him just very, very smarmy. I think Elijah Wood's really good in this. I love the nuts. Like they're just such a weird, unique bad guy collaboration. Like I think they're really interesting. And this, it's very much like the Fright Night remake we were talking about, Jason, where when you see a remake, you want to see it kind of like toe the line between something that is like the original, but not a beat for beat thing. And this takes enough from the DNA of the 84 film where it's like, okay, this guy is a janitor. He's going up against this corrupt corporation. There's that diner scene. There's a lot of beats in this that match up, but it's a different story. It's its own thing. You're not just seeing a Gus Van Sant like shot for shot for some reason horror remake. It's allowed to do its own thing, but it's also not just like, well, you just called it the Toxic Avenger to cash in. This does still feel like it has that Lloyd Kaufman DNA in it. So overall, I thought it was pretty solid. Not necessarily one that I would go back to, but not one that I regret spending, an hour 45 on either.
How would you compare it to the original? Did you like this more or less than the original?
Honestly, I think it was about the same. Like this is it's very much like this is the same movie as the original in terms of like quality. It's the same vibes. It's just this one was obviously made for a bigger budget in 2025, and that one was made for a very small budget in 1984.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really liked this movie. I thought it was just fun. It was just irreverent and fun and camp, and it understood the tone perfectly. It didn't try to make anything too serious, but it didn't go overboard with the silliness either. The Killer Nuts or whatever the band is called, I thought were kind of hilarious. There's a guy who just wants to do parkour and do flips and stuff. I thought that was really funny. I thought Peter Dinklage is always entertaining. He's just such a charismatic actor. I just really enjoyed his kind of performance. And what's really interesting is that he plays the Winston, before the accident, but they have another actress come in and do all the stuff in the suit, who's like a really, really small person, but very physically gifted in their performance. And what they did was they had Peter Dinklage act out the rest of the movie as Toxic Avenger. She watched it and kind of mimicked what he did within the Toxic Avenger suit. So, but then he had to like redub his lines. So it's like her interpreting his movements. He's like interpreting the voice. So it's this interesting synergy of two actors kind of playing the same character. And I thought it actually came off really, really well. And there were just some really funny bits. Just a not major spoiler, but like the movie, I remember the first one being very irreverent on many levels, just like many taboos and like, they're like running over kids in cars and stuff. And this movie tones it back slightly just because, it's not 1984 anymore. I mean, it's definitely very violent, but it's not it's not that crude on other levels. But there's this one gag where the Toxic Avenger is chained up and restricted, and they're like taking out his, life force and blood and stuff. But they've established before that he has like ultra acidic urine. So like they say they're gonna go kill his son. So he gets like really upset, really desperate. So he's like, okay, he's talking to his other captor, like, I'm gonna take my dick out right now. And she's like, excuse me? And then they show him on his back. You actually see a Toxic Avenger penis. And it's pissing on his chains to free himself. I was laughing out loud, like on my couch, like a madman by myself. It was the most crazy ass scene I think I've seen.
I think he said, I need to pull my dick out, but not in a sexual way or something like that.
Right. Yeah. He's like, she's like, what? He's like, I'm not a pervert. And it's funny because that was the scene when my roommate came out to like iron his clothes or whatever. And he's like, what are you watching right now?
Yeah. So that's a bit of that Troma, like just completely bonkers, like borderline, what the fuck? Yeah. I thought the movie could have done a little bit more with that, but again, I understand there's only so much you can do compared to what they used to do. But again, I love the color splashes in this. I thought the music was really fun. There's that scene where the Toxic Avenger fights the Nuts at some park, and he starts playing Motorhead.
Overkill.
Yeah,
that's a song.
Yeah, Overkill by Motorhead. And I was like, yeah, this is badass. That's really cool.
Yeah, although I will say Peter Dinklage not the best singer.
No,
but that's kind of the point. Actually, he used to be like I think in the 80s or something, he was in like a punk band or something like that, which I love him even more for.
You don't have to be a great singer to be in a punk band, though. Nor like what I do music wise too. You don't have to be a great singer. So,
and then I don't know like how they got Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood in this movie. I know they both kind of like to do odd stuff at this point in their career, but just like both of them together playing brothers, I'm like, okay, cool, I'm down with that. I'd love to see them playing brothers in movies.
I mean, Elijah Wood, though, he did the Maniac remake, Come to Daddy, and he's obviously someone who loves the genre, and I imagine he probably approached Legendary about being in the movie. Like that's how I imagine it probably went down.
Yeah, I love how both him and Daniel Radcliffe have been like, oh, I was like the star of this like epic fantasy thing, and now they're just like, I'm gonna play the weirdest dudes ever. Like that's both of their shtick from now on.
Right.
Absolutely love it.
But yeah, I really, really had fun with this. Mondo.
Yeah, me too. Would I call this the best movie ever made? No. Would I call it a great movie? No. I call it a shit ton of fun. Yes. And that's kind of really what I wanted out of it. I can 100% see, because the interesting story of this movie is that it was originally Legendary shelved it. they weren't going to even release it. They're like, no, we can't release this. I forgot who kind of pushed them to do it and kind of bought the rights to it. I saw Screenbox and Bloody Disgusting and Cineverse all in the title cards. So
no,
it was really nice.
They call this unreleasable, which made me want to see it even more.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I can understand a little bit. You put this on for a bunch of snooty movie studio executives. They're probably younger than me and Jason at this point, which is sad. but some of these, we're old, brother. Like, there's some of these executives are in their 30s. Like, this is how it is. But they're prudish. It's fine. So I could see them being prudes in a room, like, we can't release this. And God damn it, would have been such a disservice if they did not release this, especially how over the top it was. But aside from all the over the topness, I absolutely love that. That's kind of where this movie really hits its mark. But I also love the interaction with Winston and his son. I really love there's a genuine connection there. And when the kid's like, Dad, don't kill him. You don't want to be like that. You only kill people for something. He goes, yeah, self-defense is the only reason I would.
No, he's like, you only killed that. He said, you only killed that one guy from self-defense, right? He's like, yeah, one guy.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So, but I do love the relationship they have, and I think it's actually kind of sweet how he's trying to be this great stepfather. And then at the very, very end, you guys did watch after the credits, right?
Yes.
Him making a grilled cheese sandwich. I don't know. That was just, it was kind of a cool thing after this movie of just ridiculousness to have this really just natural kind of, any dad with the camera on, like, hey, TikTok today, I'm gonna show you how to make a grilled cheese sandwich. And I thought that was really, really cool. I loved him in the balcony wearing the suit and tie to watch his son's performance, and his son just killing it as kind of the wacky magician. So I think it actually had a lot of heart. And I haven't seen the original in so long, so I can't really compare it too much to the original. But I can say, like, if you're sitting down looking for like the Citizen Kane or the freaking whatever, a piece of great intellectual cinema, you're not going to find it here. But I don't think anyone who watches the Toxic Avenger expects that. I expect a giant ball of slapstick kind of wackiness, and it delivers on that.
Yeah, you get what you expect with this movie, honestly.
So did you guys see at the beginning when they're showing all the medicine that they can treat and the list of all the diseases it covers? Did you guys see some of the side effects?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I want to go back and pause it on this screen because the only two I saw were ear asthma and dog powers. And I'm like, I want some dog powers, like great sense of smell. I mean, you might awkwardly go around sniffing people's butts out of habit, but other than that, so I just thought that was really funny. They pay a lot of really weird, just little things they do that makes it even quirkier. Like we talked about earlier, the construction sounds every time his plight is getting, his disease is getting explained to him, so we never know what the disease is. I thought that was a super creative way to not have to like invent a disease or just be generic and say cancer, because from those X-rays or whatever, the MRIs, that brain did not look, didn't look very good.
Well, there's that great gag where the doctor puts up the scan and he's like, oh, that looks pretty normal. It's like, oh, no, that's what your brain's supposed to look like.
So this is a frame of reference, so you know what you don't look like. Here's you, and it's just completely blotched out, the whole brain scan.
And it also touches on too, like, obviously consumerism. It touches on the whole like for-profit medical and prescription industry, and that I thought was actually, and the whole like obviously the damage we do to our ecosystem every freaking day. But I kind of love that was like the whole catalyst ended up being if the insurance company would have just covered his medication, we could have rolled credits like right there. If that lady on the phone was like, yeah, we got you covered. Roll credits, done.
Yeah. Which, by the way, do you know who the person on the phone was? I just saw, was looking at the credits list. It's Jane Levy from the Evil Dead 2011 remake, which I'm like, I love her. I'm like, she's kind of vanished a little bit, but like, I was like, oh, that's cool that she's got a voice cameo in this.
That's really cool. Yeah.
I dig that.
The coach on TV too. Holy shit. Like that guy, when they keep scanning to him, and he's like, "Fuck that high school." They're like, "Oh, okay,
that was great." It's just the right. It knows exactly what it's doing. This movie, it knows that it's being campy and silly and just playing into that. Like the best example of that, I think, is the construction noises, because it's like, right when you're watching, you know what kind of movie this is, and it is very much playing into those like Troma tendencies. And I was looking up the production history of this. I think is really interesting because it was originally supposed to be, I guess, like, because it was as early as 2010 was in production, and I think there was talks of like Arnold Schwarzenegger to be Toxie, and they wanted it to be like a PG-13 movie, like in the style of like the Toxic Crusaders TV show. And then it finally gets made, and then even then, whenever it got made, they're like when they deemed it, quote unquote unreleasable, they were gonna dial it back to like an R because it premiered at Fantastic Fest like 2 years ago. Like I remember when I watched the cover of the original was right around when it was making the festival rounds. It sat on the shelf for a couple of years, and then they released it. And like, we're not gonna release this as the R cut that I think got shown at those festivals. We're gonna release it unrated. We're gonna release this thing in its full glory. And I really appreciate that because I'm like, if you're gonna make a Toxic Avenger movie, do not go half-ass. You really got to go all in with the violence and the like gratuitous comedy and the gross out stuff and all the just insanity. Because if you're not going all in, then what is even the point? And I'm glad that this one really was like ratchet that all up. And they're like, you think it's unreleasable? Then we're going to release the most unrated, batshit insane version possible.
Yeah, but like, and I love it.
So I could see a world where they do like a PG companion piece to this, but when you're bringing back something like Toxie, a Troma staple, possibly the most popular character Troma ever came up with, like you said, you have to go all out. You have to go balls to the wall with it.
Yeah. Well, what I was going to say was, yes, I love that they went balls to the wall, but like Mondo said earlier, they really kept the heart in it. So like, it wasn't just gross out to be gross out. It had definitely a heart. The kid, the actor played the boy, Jacob Tremblay, was really, really good. Again, I don't know how they could have gone. Child actors are very tricky, but he's
really nominated for an Oscar, like in his first ever role in Room. So I was just like, kind of like, oh wow, that's like a good kid, like like, and it's in that weird like awkward age between like, he broke out as a child, and now it's been like a couple of years. So like, what do you do after like? I was 10 and I got nominated for an Oscar, and now I'm like 17. I guess I'll be in this Toxic Avenger remake.
Well, yeah, but he was also in Life of Chuck recently.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
He's really good in that. But also, one thing I do want to bring up, I love just the random citizens. What they call it, Saint Roma or something. Saint Romaville, really Tromaville. And there's one part where they first see the Toxic Avenger, and they're like, "Let's get him, mob."
Yes.
And there's a cop comes out to try to stop them. He's like, "You know what? F it," and he starts shooting these goblins up in the air. Mob.
I love when at the beginning of the movie, when like the mobsters are like shaking down his neighbor, and like one of them like throws like the cat in the street or whatever, and Dinklage goes and runs and saves the cat, and like there's all these like random like background like ADR voices, and one of them just goes, "Wow, he saved that cat." And I was like, okay, they're just fucking calling it out here. They're just calling out like the biggest screenwriting trick in the book that people who don't know like about screenwriting tropes and stuff, they know save the cat, so they were just like, we are just telling you guys, like, we are playing off all that stuff right from the beginning.
He must be a good guy. He's saving a cat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's so good.
I'm okay with that though. With him actually beating the guy, ripping the guy's arm off, they're like, yeah, someone's gonna beat him with his arm now.
And then when they like put the arm back on and it's like backwards, and he's like, "Can you take it off and put it back on?" It's just like this throwaway line, but that one had me laughing, like maybe more than anything else in the movie.
Did they ever show what that guy was knitting?
I don't think so.
I was hoping in my heart of hearts he was knitting a one-arm sweater.
Yeah. I forgot what was there was a book that one of the guys was reading like during the arm scene
about reattaching limbs or something like that.
Yeah, it was like a really funny gag. I'll have to look at that.
There's a lot of little fun background stuff in this. I can't even remember all of it. Again, like the even when it's the prescription again, when it's telling you everything it cures diabetes, not diabetes, diabetes. And I'm like, they were just having a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, right. And another scene at the concert where the lady flashes him. The other lady flashes him with awkward tits. Then the dude just straight whips his dick out.
That was so funny.
I didn't expect it last time.
Or when they like unmask the last of the nuts, and he's just this little creepy baby guy, and like I just love like the his the reporter or whatever, the insider is just like almost puking. I'm like, she just saw like a bunch of people getting decapitated and all this stuff, but like that's the thing that just make her be like, you know.
Oh, and the little jab at the whole brosphere where the guys take over the diner because they change the name from Mr. whatever to Mrs. whatever.
I loved that like jab at like the kind of manosphere like bullshit, like the people who are just like, we've got to like return the way it was in the 80s and like they're ruining like that kind of like, you know, making things great. Like I just love that the way they like took a jab at like those just like angry like dudes, and they did it in a way that also referenced the original movie, you know, having the blind person in the diner and all that stuff.
And then seeing all those kind of random characters at the very end of the movie too, like seeing him in the hospital, like the people he saved from the diner and everything. I thought was a really nice touch. Oh, and also when the guy walks out, he stumbles out of the diner and he like goes to put his hands up and the cop just guns him down.
Yeah, that was so good.
Like, love this movie.
Well, what's even crazy again, this movie was made like probably 2022 if it came out in 2023 on the festivals. And that was way before the Cracker Barrel thing happened in real life.
Yeah.
And then they ended up changing the logo back. So it's like, I was like, that's kind of eerie. How accurate that is.
I didn't. Did you mention? I didn't realize it was actually a woman that played Toxie.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's a.
Oh, you did? Okay, British... I'm sorry. I missed that. I didn't know that. Luisa. It's not Guerrero, but it's spelled like Guerrero. But yeah, from England.
Yeah. I think she's from the Philippines ethnically, but she lives in England, and she's done like a bunch of voiceover, another more stunt stuff.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, and then we didn't talk about the hobo, David Yao, plays wise hobo, who claims to be a doctor when he first meets. So he brings him a gunshot victim. He's like, "Why do you think I'm a doctor? Like,
who told you I was a doctor?" That's so good.
You did. Oh. The end with that really weird looking bird when it's like, oh, it has babies, and then you see him frying up eggs.
That's such a good runner through the whole movie where like, because it first shows up in the credits where you see like it get poisoned, so you're like, okay, well, this is like what's gonna happen to Toxie, you know, and then it like you see it as like, you know, like this cartoon, and you're like, okay, and then it like actually you see like the physical practical thing, and it's just this janky looking thing, and like you said, it gets paid off so well at the end when it has the eggs. You're like, oh, what's the next generation going to be? They're just going to be lunch.
It'd be lunch, and why would you eat those though? Eat those. And also when a Toxie wakes up in his tent, behind him is a dream catcher but it's a dream catcher with a thong stretched over it.
I didn't catch it. There's so much little stuff like that in this movie that I feel like, man, the more I'm talking about, the more I'm loving this movie, honestly.
Yeah, my wife had to run some errands, and I was about halfway through it, and now I'm gonna go back and make her watch the other half of it because she enjoyed it that much. She's like, I wish I could have stayed and finished it. I'm like, well, you can still finish it. So after this, we'll finish it.
My one regret is I really want to see this in the theater, and I wish I could have seen like at a festival kind of screenings. I think like with a big rowdy crowd, it would just be so much fun.
Yeah. This would be a good movie to see, like with a bunch of people like laughing. Like that's how I saw one of the first movies I saw, like, you know, kind of post COVID was Jackass 4, and just like the amount of people just being glad to be in the theater and watching just something so raunchy and ridiculous. Like I could see this really having the same vibe.
That's cool. Yeah, there's definitely movies going to Chattanooga Film Fest every year now. There's definitely movies that just hit so much better when you're just with the right crowd, and that wouldn't quite hit the same if you're at home, like by yourself in your living room.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, and I had more than enough fun in that setting, but I think it'd be even better that way. All right, let's do our episode rating. We do 0 to 5, 5 being the best, 0 being the worst. You can do half points. Mondo, why don't you start us off?
I'm gonna go with the 4. And I might even be rating it low. I think I don't know because I just had so much fun with it. I give it a 4, but I give it a 5 for fun.
All right, Derick.
You know, I had originally had this at a 3, but I think after this conversation, I'm going to bump that up to a 3.5 because I really like. I think I'm talking about it. I really dug it.
Yeah, I'm going 4.5. I just had so much fun. It takes a lot for a movie to just make me crack up like out loud. Like usually I'm like, huh, that's funny. That's funny. But to like literally out loud by myself, you know, in the middle of the night, just laughing at the movie. Even for most comedies don't do that. So I'll take it.
God, when he's just mopping up and you just hear people screaming in the background, like bad things are happening at this fucking plant. God, it was so good. And then him threatening the guy with a mop after he dips it in toxic waste. And they just have a room with just money sitting on the shelves.
I know.
I was like, this is fucking brilliant. This is brilliant on so many levels.
He's like apologizing to the security guard.
Right.
Like, Winston,
Dinkle's just so sheepish at the beginning. He's just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And he's like, you're not a good person. You're robbing me with a mop.
Yeah. I just love Mayor Dinklage. He just always brings it.
He's a gem.
He is a gem. All right, let's take a quick break and do a shout out.
Hey guys, I'm Lily Wilson from Becky, and I have 2 things to say. Nazis can fuck off, and you are listening to Dads from the Crypt.
They can fuck off.
Yes. Absolutely.
She is a gem.
You said you're gonna try to get that. You can tell us you actually got it. That's awesome.
I know. I even waited. I held on to it for a couple weeks. That was at HorrorCon LA a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
She did a panel to talk about Becky 1 and 2 and some other stuff, and super nice. And then like she didn't like have a table, but like they gave her like a quick like on the side. She like do a couple quick autographs. So I kind of waited for it to be like mostly over. Then I went up and asked her if she'd do that. She was like totally down. Very cool.
That's very cool. That's very cool.
It's also Jason's like 6'5", and she's like, I'm terrified of this person if I say no.
But then I held on to it to make sure you guys forgot about it. So nice surprises.
I forgot about it until she popped up. I was like, oh, Jason got it. And I didn't expect her to say Nazis fuck off, but she did.
Hell yeah. Fuck off Nazis. And I think this movie is very fuck off Nazis vibes.
Yes.
I appreciate that.
It is. I'm just waiting for people to say like Toxie's woke. Like,
right. Like
it's
the same people who would be protesting the fact that they like changed the burger to like the Mrs. Burger or whatever, like the people who got like there's the people who like legitimately are fucking angry that like Mr. Pibb is called Pibb Extra now because they took out the Mr. Like it's insane, these people.
Oh God, I could rant about this shit for days, but I know people like this that get mad about that stuff, and I'm like, someone ranting about the Cracker Barrel. I'm like, when the fuck have you ever eaten a Cracker Barrel? Yeah. Well, now I'm never going to. Yeah, so who gives a shit about?
Right. They went from making $0 to now they're making $0. Okay, cool.
And they changed the logo just because it's the new thing to do. It looks more in line, more stylized. That's it. God. But,
I think what I really want after this is a remake of Surf Nazis Must Die.
Hell yeah.
Well, I don't know if you know who that Troma is soon to be purchased.
No.
Disney has made a deal to purchase Troma.
No.
I read about this like 4 or 5 months ago and looked it up again. Looks like it's still possibly happening.
No. I hope not.
It's you know what? Like, in the end of the day, if the people that made that company that put their blood, sweat, and tears into it can make their bag, I don't fault them at all. Not even a little bit, but Troma would not be. Okay, under Disney. Oh, speaking of Troma, I forgot about this too. The other use of the Motorhead song, obviously, Lemmy was the narrator for Tromeo and Juliet, so it's got the tie in there to Motorhead.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah. All right, Mondo, give us your song of the day.
Speaking of Toxic, back in the 80s, there was a thrash metal band from the Bay Area called Exodus, and Kirk Hammett started that band. I don't know if you know that, Jason. That was his first band. Along with Gary Holt, who now plays guitar for Slayer and still plays guitar in Exodus. I think him and the drummer are the 2 original members. But everyone always says Bonded by Blood was their best record, and those people are wrong. Because their best record was Fabulous Disaster, which was their 3rd album. And the song off that album I picked is called The Toxic Waltz, which is just about getting in a mosh pit and fucking some shit up, but it has the word toxic in it, so it ties in.
There you go.
You can go be a Toxic Avenger in the mosh pit. Exodus is kind of one of the unsung heroes of that genre, and Gary Holt has a new autobiography out, which I highly recommend to anybody out there who's interested, just in the life of a musician, whether you like his music or not. The audiobook is fantastic. I didn't read it because it's one of those. I like putting autobiographies on while I'm driving. I'll read most, but I can't listen to a novel. I just can't do it on audiobook.
I'm the same. Yeah, I only listen to audiobooks when they're like nonfiction. I listen to a lot of movie audiobooks. I'm listening to the MCU one right now. I listen to the Mad Max one, but I can't do. I want to read a physical book if I'm doing fiction.
Yeah, same way, and not knocking people that I've heard there's some fiction books that they get whole different voice, like great voice actors to do it, and it sounds like a play, and that's really cool, but it's just not for me. But but autobiographies, that's my sweet spot when it comes to audiobooks. So check it out if you get a chance. It's a really cool autobiography. I forgot the name of it, but if you just search Gary Holt on Audible, it'll come up. So yep, Toxic Waltz off Fabulous Disaster by the unsung heroes of Bay Area thrash, Exodus.
Nice.
All right. Jody's not here to do any horror news, so we'll give that a rest for the week. But I thought we'd talk about some underrated movies. Derick, since that's your wheelhouse, so tell us your most underrated movies that you've come across while doing your show.
I mean, yeah, the first one I ever covered, and I think this is always my go-to answer when people ask me about what's an underrated movie, is Speed Racer. I think that's a movie that like crashed at the box office, critic hated it, and I started my show in like 2019, and I think right around then, as people were starting to like replay, it's like, did we miss on Speed Racer? And I loved it. I saw it opening night and loved it since then. And I feel like finally now people are starting to be like, wait a minute, is this like a secret masterpiece? And that's what I've been saying since 2009. That's always my go-to. I mean, for my 100th episode, one that was kind of like sparked the podcast was oh my gosh, I'm spacing on the name of it now. It's based on the Neil Gaiman novel Stardust. That's another one that I think is really underrated and great. Obviously, one we just talked about was the Fright Night remake. That is a really underrated horror movie, I think. So, I mean, I got at this point 170 something episodes that I could talk about for underrated movies.
I was thinking about this, about like what I would consider underrated, and a lot of it I think it's kind of a mixture of like expectations and nostalgia. I think can play a lot into it. I was thinking like, what movie do I love that I think is really underrated? And I was kept coming back to Masters of the Universe, the 80s He-Man movie.
Okay, yeah. Interesting.
But like then I'm like, do I love it because it came out when I was a kid, or is it actually good?
Right, it's the Goonies effect. It's like, is this movie good, or did it just come out in did I just watch it all out as a kid? No disrespect to people like the Goonies, but like I feel like that's something I run across.
Yeah, Goonies is definitely nostalgic. Like, I mean, I don't think a kid who watches today is going to have that same love for it that those who watched it, back in the 80s, 90s did.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't know if Hocus Pocus is actually great, or I just watched it every year at Halloween growing up, but I love it. So,
the first time I saw that was actually as an adult, and I thought it was fun.
Okay, that's good.
And the whole thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'd say like, I don't think I saw that movie like in its entirety until like I should watch it with my kids. I was like, okay, that's pretty. Like, I know it was on TV a ton, and like I never really watched the entirety of Hocus Pocus, but I was like, okay, that's pretty good. It's not as like I think over like as amazing. I think a lot of nostalgia plays into it.
Right.
One of the hard things with horror is like thinking of horror movies that are underrated. We're in such a bubble sometimes that a lot of times movies that we love, like we know other people that love the same movie, so sometimes it's hard to pick an underrated one. But I think one of my favorite ones that a lot of people haven't seen that I think is genuinely terrifying is Amityville Horror 2: The Possession.
Okay.
I think the original is actually super overrated. And much again, people look at it through rose-colored glasses because of when it came out and the performance. I'm drawing a blank on the guy that plays the father's name, George. I don't remember. I think he puts on a great performance in the first one, but I think that movie as a whole was overrated. And I'll actually argue that the Ryan Reynolds remake was better. But Amityville Horror 2: The Possession, which kind of it doesn't go as supernatural as the first one, but it's actually more based on the story that actually happened in that house. But obviously bringing in the demonic possession piece in it. Like towards the end, you watch this kid walking systematically through his house and killing his entire family with a shotgun. And to me, that's just that bit of real life horror is worse than most supernatural horror that you can give me. And I think a lot of people haven't seen that because it was the sequel.
Okay, I'll give you guys one that's a very underrated like appropriately enough Halloween horror movie, and that is Halloween 4: The Return of Michael Myers. I think that movie is so good. I think that one is just like, it's got these fall vibes, and it's got like, I won't spoil it, but such a good ending. Like, I love the way, and like Loomis is just like cranked up to like 11 in that movie, where it's like, I'm gonna fucking kill Michael Myers if it's the last god thing I do. Like, he's so over the top and insane in it, and like Michael is just like going around like having the time of his life. I know a lot of people don't like it because Jamie Lee Curtis didn't come back. It was kind of like, hey, we're just like going back to the formula after like people like Halloween 3 a lot. I know that one's kind of like beloved, but I think 4 is like really, really underrated.
I think as we get older, like Halloween 3, up until like what would you say, Jason? The past 5 years, people really kind of didn't appreciate it because everyone's so stuck on it. It's Halloween without Michael in it. But I think 4 is going to be one of those that people will look back more fondly on now than they did at the time. And
I definitely think it's definitely within like past between 10 and 5 years, it's definitely ramped up in appreciation. And the other one I was thinking of is like Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I think a lot of people discounted it because it's just kind of like the one between the original and Dream Warriors. But I think it's a generally like mean-spirited Freddy movie. It's probably the scariest of the Freddy movies. And people talk about with all the gay subtext, and that's definitely there. But I don't generally think it's a highly underrated Freddy movie. But I think there's a lot of like horror stuff that we as horror fans like, and just kind of goes, or like maybe like tangentially horror, like Becky or Green Room, or a lot of movies that like everyone that's seen those movies really likes them. It's just not many people know about them or had a chance to see them when they came out. So like they're underrated more.
Say non-horror, one of my favorite movies that I think doesn't get enough love, but Arrow just released it on 4K, and the first time ever it has the unrated cut on it is Dirty Work, which was an old comedy, Norm Macdonald, Artie Lang, directed by Bob Saget. And I accidentally saw that in a theater when it came out because we're gonna go see something, and the theater broke, like the screen printer broke, so we just snuck into that movie. And I remember seeing it, I was like 13 or 14, just laughing my ass off. And as an adult, I still laugh at that freaking movie. It definitely has some non-PC stuff in there that's a little bit problematic now, I would say, for sure. But sometimes you got to take the movie based on when it was made. And I think Norm Macdonald on that is just freaking brilliant with this deadpan humor and delivery. And you got Don Rickles. He's so good. He's so freaking good.
Yeah. And again, a lot of this stuff has to go back to expectations when you go into something, whether you're like overly hyped or underhyped. I had the very similar experience. I remember when Dogma came out, I was really excited to go see that. But me, as like my freshman year in college, means a bunch of friends, like, only one person had a car. So we had to like all pile in. When we got there, it was sold out. The only other movie playing around that time was Fight Club, which had just came out, and it just seemed like some bro fight movie. And we're just blown away by that. I mean, the David Fincher effect. But again, our expectations were so low because we weren't even planning to see that movie to begin with. Maybe even better.
Fight Club's now one of those movies you can gauge if someone's cool or not on. You can say, like, what character do you like the most in that? Anyone that says Tyler, red flag.
Right, yes. No, it's just like, oh, you guys missed the point.
Yeah.
Or if they refuse to talk about it.
No, that's actually, I'll respect that, actually. I'll respect that aspect.
No, but Jason, you bring up a good point of like, talking about like something being like well known or respected in one community, like the horror community, and then just like if I say to someone, I'm like, oh yeah, like one of the early movies I covered was the Evil Dead remake, 2011 one, and I feel like if I said that to a horror fan, people were like, no, people love that movie, but if I said it to a non-horror fan, they're like, oh, what? I didn't even realize that was a thing. There's the 3 originals and there's the one from a couple years ago. So it kind of depends on what lens you're looking at it through. Like, this might be underrated in some, walks of life, but not to other people.
For sure.
And even like horror, we reviewed Tales from the Hood, which I think when it came out, I don't think it got like it flew under everybody's radar, and I think it still does for a lot of people. But that movie, I think, is criminally underrated.
Yeah.
And things evolve too. Like, if I was to talk about, like, no one would ever call The Princess Bride underrated now, right? But if you like talked about The Princess Bride in 1992, that movie's super underrated, because it did bad at the box office. It only became through like showings on TV and like VHS and then eventually DVD sales a classic. but things really have this kind of arc of going from like underrated to cult classic to just beloved movie. There is like kind of a pipeline you see sometimes, and I think we're seeing that with like Speed Racer to a certain point now.
I have never seen it, and now I'm going to because
neither have I.
Very cute. Oh man, I would love to hear what you guys think.
And I was going to say that sounds like almost like every movie in John Carpenter's filmography was, came out underrated. Now it's a classic.
Right, yeah, The Thing. Like nobody would ever call The Thing underrated, but it did so bad when it came.
Big
like
Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
In the Mouth of Madness, one of my favorites of all time.
Madness.
Yeah, God. Hey, and guess what? 5 days from this movie, this episode coming out, Jason and I will be at the John Carpenter concert in Los Angeles, watching him do his thing.
I made a John Carpenter Spotify playlist to get pumped.
Very nice. That's gotta be good.
And speaking of a recent movie that I didn't see get a ton of people talking about, it was Last Stop in Yuma County.
Oh, I've heard good things about that. I haven't
came out last year. Thought it was like one of my favorite movies of the whole year.
Okay.
Just a phenomenal, like, tense thriller, all shot basically in one diner.
Yeah. Okay, I wonder if because of streaming, we have just so many things to watch that there's just like we can't keep up to a degree. Yeah,
I think so. I think there's just so many more movies now. Like I think like people are. I always hear the thing of like, oh well, there's so many more bad movies now. I'm like, yeah, but there's also so many more good movies. There's just more stuff,
Yeah, and to be fair too, it's like there's so many classics that were kind of lost back from the 80s and 90s and even the 2000s because it wasn't as readily available at our fingertips. Like some of these movies that came out had limited theatrical runs, got released on VHS and kind of got lost to the ether. You're seeing companies like Umbrella, Arrow, Severin putting these out. Yeah, Scream Factory putting these out again. And there's some big gems in there. Like one of my favorite streaming services now is Arrow because they show all kinds of old. Like I can't remember the name. I just watched a movie about like a school for ninjas, and it was like the biggest 80s like shitty movie I've ever seen, and I had a smile on my face the whole time. That's one of those movies I never would have seen if it wasn't for Arrow putting on the streaming service and remastering it. So I think that there's a lot of underappreciated old stuff that we'll continue to find these hidden gems. But like nowadays, you're right, because like if you pick any movie on Netflix most of the time and you're just thinking about watching it, if you ask your friends or ask on social media, hey, anybody seen this? You're going to get people that have seen it and can give you recommendations on it or not, where some of this more obscure stuff, we didn't have that back in the day. And a lot of that stuff just got kind of swept under the rug. And I really love that we're just seeing a lot of this stuff come back now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's interesting because, it's like, back in the 90s, if you wanted to watch something like more obscure or like foreign or something like that, you'd have to like tape trade, or whatever. Now it's just like, oh, like I can just go on Netflix or go to like Barnes and Noble and get like a Kino Lorber DVD or something,
I mentioned my wrestling fandom. When I was in middle school and high school, I used to tape trade. So I would literally have 4 VCRs going at all times, dubbing footage from one tape, another tape to trade to somebody else to get their Japanese wrestling tape that I wanted to see. and that's how we watched it. Now, all this stuff, like I eventually got rid of a Foot Locker I had full of VHS wrestling tapes that now it's all just stuff you can find on YouTube.
You just go on YouTube and just like find anything that's ever happened. Yeah.
And I love that. Don't get me wrong. I love that. But there was something really kind of I miss about those days because you would get excited when you got that new tape in the mail. It's like, God, I can finally go put my VCR and watch this match on a 4th generation dub that looks like shit. But I can kind of see what's happening between Misawa and Kawada. And but now it's on YouTube, but it's I think in the grand scheme of things, it is for the better because now a lot of this lost stuff is back again, or found, I should say.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Derick, thank you for joining us. Where can people find you and your shows?
Yeah, thank you for finding me. And however you're listening to this, Underrated is on all of the podcast apps. We're on YouTube as well. So just look up Underrated Movie Podcast on anything however you get your podcasts or on any social media, and we will come up.
Okay. And what about any other shows or those on the special platforms or socials?
So the main hub is just Underrated, that will or if you go to underratedmoviepodcast.com, that has links to everything. If you type in, the name of the show, Infinity Stones and Dragon Bones or Midnight Film Society or go to the patreon.com/underratedmoviepodcast. Have options for as little as $1 a month to get episodes a week early and ad free, and all kinds of bonus episodes there as well. So yeah, but the underratedmoviepodcast.com will take you to all of that stuff if you want to just find it in one place.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, we appreciate everyone for listening. We would really appreciate it if you would give us a rating and review on iTunes, a rating on Spotify, like and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at Dads from the Crypt Talk on TikTok. And with that, we thank you for listening to Dads from the Crypt.
Follow Dads from the Crypt on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or I will follow you to the grave. No, seriously, you really should watch. But be careful what you ask for. You may get it.